so that you are perceiving truly about everything and everyone. If you cannot engage face to face with a brother with affection, there is no atonement. So, now you know where it's at. And because you do, your participation in the atonement will be easier for you. Because you won't sit in a room by yourself, being the presence of love, thinking that's all there is to it, and neglecting to bring it into your actions. Once you begin to bring it into your actions, and your desire is to act it out more and more consistently, the world is going to see more evidence of atonement. And this book that we're reading and what's in it has been around long enough for there to be more evidence of atonement. I am not chastising anyone. I'm saying that what is needed for transformation is present. And the means of embodying it, good choice of words, the means of embodying it are present. Right there. Right there. Embody. Body. Body. Two together. Expressing affection. Embodiment. And I'm not talking about sex. Body. Body. Embodiment. Body. Body. It's not an illusion. Love it. Use it. Body. Affection. Affection. Not a slap, but a caress. Caring. You know, take the time to touch, to care, to express thoughtfulness with your bodies. With your bodies.
Yes, sir.
With your bodies. Embody it. Take the time to mean it. It can't be done at a distance. Acts of love. Acts of getting close enough, defenselessly enough, that hearts can touch. Because the goal is for hearts to touch. You see? The words here don't mean anything until you catch the spirit of them, and extend them to each other. And where it needs to be expressed and embodied most is where a hatred seems to be active, whether it's a brand new hatred or an ancient hatred. And like I pointed out last week, an ancient hatred is a current ignorance clothed in the idea that it's ancient. You're all watching, everyone on the globe is watching, aggressive sparring going on. The embodiments of ancient hatreds by a brand new people. There's nothing ancient about it, except that the current generation has been told by the one just behind it how they should currently think, and they have justified the current thinking on what the generation before thought, and the generation before thought, and the generation before thought. And yet, what's being embodied in the world today is nothing less than a brand new generation, and one that's just behind it, and maybe a few left over from the one just behind that, acting out a current willfulness, not a current love. I hate your guts because your great-great-great-great-great-grandfather did something horrible to my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. And I won't forgive you for what he did. So we have an obvious circumstance where enrichment of affection is called for. Now, if you don't like what you see going on in the world, then stop doing it in your individual experience, because that you can do something about. And the acts of affection that you engage in will become the leaven that leavens the whole lump. Again, affection is an act of love. An act of love is an embodiment of love, and you will have to use your bodies and not just your mind. Let your bodies become the brush that paints loveliness upon your relationships. Let your bodies be the brushes that paint healing in your relationships. And remember that if your bodies are not being used, you will not have the concrete evidence of atonement. No matter how blissed out you are, all alone in your room, being the presence of love. Do you know that I love you? All of you. And so I talk straight with you, so that you won't suffer from confusion and won't think you're doing everything that needs to be done when you're only doing half of what needs to be done. Was there a hand?
Are you talking like Mother Teresa, or more sublime than that, or more sublime working towards like Mother Teresa?
I'm not sure how much more sublime one can get than Mother Teresa.
So we should make that as our goal?
No. That's a concept. So if you're going to make that your goal, then you're probably going to have to find as many videos of Mother Teresa as you can, because you can't go and observe her directly and see what it was that she did and how did it look, and so that you can maybe get a feeling for what it was she was about.
Well, I mean the full immersion of herself into her world, caring for the sick, caring for the downtrodden, almost, well, to what we rate as a very high degree, which is why we hold her in high esteem and high regard.
Yes.
I guess that goes back to the first sentence. Atonement is total commitment.
Yes. Total commitment to what?
To the giving of acts of love.
But what is it that you have to be committed to in order to be in a position to engage in acts of love?
Interaction. Relationship.
No. Each of you, without your connection with God, do not know how to love. You don't know what love is. So, Because I've used a phrase that is a part of the teaching of Christian Science, I'm going to use another statement that Mary Baker Eddy used. She said, "Follow me only insofar as I follow Christ." And what does that mean? It means, how are you going to know whether she's following Christ unless you go within yourself, like she did, or like she was doing when she was here, let us say? You won't know whether she's following Christ if you are not following her example and going within and asking the Christ, what is the truth? What should I do? What's the next appropriate step? So, if you're going to follow somebody like Mother Teresa, you'd better do what she did, and that was, she talked with God all day long. Her commitment was to let God shine through, not a human being, not an ego. So that her human being became illuminated with God. The atonement is a total commitment. Yes. An atonement, and atonement means an act of love. So atonement means commitment to eternal acts of love. So you've got to love your brother and your sister enough to not honor who they are presenting themselves as, but with them in mind, specifically, one-on-one, go within and ask God, what is the truth here about my friend? Reveal to me the divine presence that has to be here in order for me to see something less because my vision isn't complete. You must use each other as your reason for turning to God, so that in turning to God, you are blessed with vision that causes your experience of your brother or sister who drove you to God and be able to give back the gift that God has given you. And now we have an act of love that came from God, that was started by your willingness to have an object of your affection and use that object of your affection, even if he or she has been a real bitch or bastard, to use that one as a reason for asking to see the truth and turning to God, so that you might have the influx of the gift of vision that is imbued with love, and which, because it has infilled you, causes you to send out messengers of love spontaneously without a single thought or premeditation, that will go out to your brother or sister who is your reason you turn to God, who you are caring enough to ask God about, and bring back to you confirmation of the loveliness, the divinity, the innocence, the perfection of your brother or sister. You see? Now you understand what I mean.
Yes.
The commitment to your brother or sister to engage in an act of love means that you are going to turn to God to learn of your brother or sister.
And not decide what the act of love is before it occurs.
Absolutely, because until you're connected with God, you don't have the foggiest idea of what love is, because you and everyone else are operating on the basis of your mutually agreed upon definitions of love, and those mutually agreed upon definitions of love have nothing to do with doing something for someone else. They have only to do with getting something yourself. Security where it doesn't exist to be had. Safety where it doesn't exist to be had. Success where it doesn't exist to be had. Right.
So just allow these acts of love to manifest wherever we find ourselves in our own lives at all times.
Yes, making sure, having a deep commitment to not engage in those acts of love frivolously, haphazardly, offhandedly. There must be a deep commitment to connecting securely and solidly with the Holy Spirit, or with me, or with your guide, or with God, so that you can feel the utter appropriateness of whatever the act turns out to be. So that you can feel the divinity of it, not the rightness of it.
Giving up our own accountability. For the act of
Absolutely,
love.
because that which feels accountable is not the divine one you are, but the ego. Absolutely.
So we're back to just letting go, letting God.
Right.
Not fighting the impulses.
That's right.
When it says here, the miracle turns the defensive atonement to your real protection, is what that means by following guidance, then you're not hooked by the ego, and that is your real protection.
Exactly.
And then it says, and as you become more and more secure, you assume your natural talent of protecting others. That's witnessing?
That's witnessing, and that's engaging in affection.
Affection.
Acts of love.
And so by doing that, you're also bringing the energy there, which helps protect them from getting hooked by their ego.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And it also protects them from you.
From trying to Mother Teresa them.
That's right. That's right.
Last week you talked about the treasures and what we valued, what we treasured, and how much we treasured it, and then you threw in the why. And that's what this is about. That's the connectedness to the atonement, to the affection. That's why.
That is a good way of putting it, yes.
And it was amazing to me as I worked with that over and over again how I found I consistently would go to something I could get out of it. It just amazed me that I was still so rooted in the idea of getting, and when you put it like you did, it would just bring me right up to the startlingness of that over and over again, how it would start to come in as some cozy little concept, and then when you got it right down, there it was, trying to get something again. And when you first asked that about reaching out in the room, what came to me, the first thing was really clear, was like reach for my cell phone, which I thought was a smart-ass answer, but it really was the only answer. you got to reach out to somebody else. And when I'm sitting there and feeling comfortable, connected to the love that you and what I get connected with provides, you've been over and over clarifying that that's not where it ends.
Indeed.
This is really good stuff.
Well, it's reality. And reality is good stuff. The way it works is good stuff. Even though, as it says, to the ego, it seems to be a loss. Let us continue.
The altar of God. The atonement can be accepted within you only by the releasing of the inner light.
We really have discussed this. The question is, where are you going to get the inner light? Continue.
Since the separation, defenses have been used almost entirely to defend against the atonement, and thus maintain the separation. This is generally seen as a need to protect the body. The many body fantasies in which minds engage arise from the distorted belief that the body can be used as a means for attaining, quote, atonement, unquote.
Yes. Now, do you think that's what I was describing? No. The body cannot be used as a means for attaining the atonement. The atonement principle is love. And atonement is an act of love arising out of the living presence of the principle in you. Thus, the body does not become a means of attaining the atonement, but as a means of expressing it. As a means of giving it. You see the difference? Continue.
Perceiving the body as a temple is only the first step in correcting this distortion, because it alters only part of it. It does recognize that atonement in physical terms is impossible. The next step, however, is to realize that a temple is not a structure at all. Its true holiness lies at the inner altar around which the structure is built. The emphasis on beautiful structures is a sign of the fear of atonement and an unwillingness to reach the altar itself.
Now, this is a metaphor, and you need to know it. And once you see the metaphor, it will be utterly clear. The emphasis on beautiful structures, well, when you read those words, beautiful structures, and you have just been talking about temples, immediately, Gothic cathedrals, modern cathedrals, stained glass windows, exquisite pipe organ pipes come to mind. When it's like, how can that be a sign of the fear of atonement? But if the body, and I'm not going to come around and tap everyone's knee again, is a temple, well, it makes a lot more sense if you say the emphasis on beautiful bodies